Hi, welcome to the Digital Access Show where we talk all things communication, accessibility, and usability. Because after all, that's what we always talk about. All digital communication has to be accessible. Otherwise, you're not communicating. It's not
Yeah.
usable. Today's guest I met through another friend, and I am so excited because I'm into fitness. I'm not a runner. I want to get back into running, but you get a bit older, things start to break down a bit in life. And she's come up with a way for people with disability to keep exercising. And this solution doesn't just apply to people with disability, it is for the elderly. Here in Australia, it's for those who live right out bush that don't have access to physical trainers or whatever, and they might just like to do a cardio session or meditate or whatever it is. Please meet Leanne Reuber from Second Skin Society. Leanne, thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Leanne, can you tell us a bit about yourself and why you're doing what you're doing?
Yes, I love this question. It's so important. There's a few reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. First and foremost, I myself, over the last few years, have lost quite a bit of my hearing, and that's something that is hereditary in my family. I've also, over the last few years, just noticed pretty significant difference in my vision. So, especially from the first part of the day, so morning to evening, my vision changes pretty significantly. Um, and knowing that as I continue to age, I will have more, challenges or more um, things related to hearing, vision, mobility. There's all kinds of different things that I am experience in my own body as it changes. And knowing whether it is, 20 years from now, where I am at the point of labeling myself as someone who has a disability, or
Yep.
whether tomorrow I am out and I have an accident, I get injured, I'm diagnosed with an illness. We are all going to come to have a personal reason to care about accessibility. And for me, this is very much about developing something that matters today for so many people and will matter for me in the future, regardless of, whether that's tomorrow or 20 years from now. I also have a personal connection to disability just because I started working in disability inclusion when I was 13 years old. And I understand now, getting to look back on that time, how impactful it was for me in early teenage years to be around people with disabilities. I was going to high school and then I was going to spend time with people who had all kinds of different lived experience than I did. People who use wheelchairs, people who had developmental disabilities, mental health challenges, lots of intersectionalities there. And that exposure for me gave me such a beautiful gift where I got to just develop relationships with other human beings. And that's missing in our society right now. There's a lot of there's an invisible divide where people with and without disabilities are not spending as much time together or really very much time at all together because many people are afraid. Non-disabled people are afraid of saying the wrong thing or offending someone or doing the wrong thing, even though they may have good intentions. There's so many assumptions that we as a society carry about disability, and so it creates this invisible divide between disabled and non-disabled people. And recognizing that I had such an incredible experience where I got to just build relationships with people with disabilities, I understand that that divide does not need to exist. And so part of what I'm doing is really wanting to create a space where that divide doesn't exist. And we are solely focused on the things that we have in common, like fitness or yoga or meditation, in my business, of course. That is
So, what
why I
is
do
it
what I
exactly
do.
you've created?
hmm So we've just recently launched a mobile app. It is a fitness app that's designed to be accessible and inclusive. And so my definition of that is it's accessible for people who are using assistive technology. So things like screen readers, voiceover, those types of things, to include people who use that assistive technology in our community. It is integrating a lot of different accessibility features that you don't typically see in a fitness app. So things like captions, but the ability to adjust the caption text size and the color contrast as well. So you can customize that experience. The audio settings can be customized. So you're able to adjust the volume of the instructor separate from the volume of the
Oh,
music. So you can
wow.
have a better user experience that way as well. And there's been a lot of just, thought and intention into the actual tech development so that we can give users the very best experience and have them have the control over what that experience feels like. And then in addition to those tech features, we have an incredible instructor community that is 75% made up of instructors who have lived experience with disability. So our instructors, we have instructors who are blind, who are deaf, who use wheelchairs, who have autism, who have ADHD, and non-disabled instructors. And we work together to co-create different class options that
Oh,
include
wow.
classes taught using, full body, so standing class options, classes that are seated that don't include any lower body in the classes that are seated but do include some lower body, and then classes that are taught with American Sign Language as well. And again, just thinking about, how can we create a really beautifully broad and diverse range of options for people to really give better access and also representation, through
Wow.
our instructor community and through the way that we're creating the content.
This is brilliant. So, for people that aren't aware, Leanne actually lives in Canada.
I
What
do.
what's the legal framework in Canada surrounding digital accessibility that you're adhering to?
It's the WCAG 2.2 is where we're
Yep.
kind of setting that standard. So knowing, just to be transparent, of course, there's lots of different things that we're still
Yeah.
working on, and we're really we're really working on the accessibility features and really the user experience, specifically using member feedback. So we're having a
Yeah.
lot of sessions with members to understand what that experience feels like for them and how we can not just look to meet guidelines, but you touched on it in the intro, but really thinking about the user experience and how can we make this a really pleasant experience for people to navigate, quickly find what they're looking for, feel really supported in the different options, and be able to move their bodies and work on their physical and mental health using our app.
Yeah. That's awesome. Obviously, here in Australia, it's exactly the same standard because WCAG is a global standard. It
Yeah,
equally applies anywhere. So what you're talking about is an app that can be used worldwide.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome. So what type of when you're talking captions, when you're talking audio description, how hard has it been to caption the videos? Because that's a lot of work. I know how much time it does take
Yeah.
to ensure
Uh,
the captioning is correct.
Yep. And that's one of the things that we're working on. So we
Mm,
have captions that are included in the classes, and actually the default setting is that captions are always on.
yeah.
Of course, you can choose to turn them off, but we have gone through and edited the SRT files so that we can make sure those captions are accurate. Of course, we're still right now doing a lot of things manually, so it is very hard. We're a small team, working to create a really incredible experience and do as much as we can to make that experience impactful for people. So the time and attention to detail through all of these different processes, it's challenging. It's challenging,
Yeah.
for the entire team to work to make as few mistakes as possible.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
is the feedback you're getting? So you've been talking about a lot of feedback, but, and I
Hmm.
know from what we've discussed, you're getting great feedback. But what
Yeah.
is the type of feedback more specifically for the people that are
Yeah.
using it? Are they feeling better health-wise? Are they feeling good mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally?
Yeah. All of it. We've heard all of that feedback, all those
Mm,
things that you just mentioned, which is incredible. And I think one of the things that is an immediate piece of feedback that we're getting is really that emotional impact. It is
yeah,
because people are downloading the app if they're using assistive technology. I had someone over the weekend send me a message right after she had downloaded the app, and she was just on the very first login screen. And she said, I'm aware that you have an image on your login screen and it was described. And I just want to tell you that I don't typically have that experience. That the first
yeah,
thing that I come to in this type of a product, the login screen had that image description. And of course, we've
yeah,
got that throughout. The feedback, that emotional impact, is really about that the fact that we have poured into the accessibility of the product itself. It's also because of the representation. People
mm,
feel such a sense of community when they see themselves or are aware that there are instructors that are just like them that are teaching, especially in a place that has been so exclusionary of people with disabilities for decades, right? So for us, it's not just about creating access, it's also about empowering people with disabilities to lead in the fitness and yoga spaces. And I think, one of the overarching theme of the feedback we've received thus far is really about the concept, this idea of people with different needs being able to exercise together in the way that we've set things up with our tech. The concept there is really powerful. So that's kind of been first and foremost. You and I have spoken about this, but we have certainly gained a lot of interest from people who are blind or have low vision.
yeah,
A lot of people have shared really great feedback just about, not having had a positive experience with a fitness app before, considering the assistive technology that they're using to navigate things. And then, we didn't touch on this, but I should mention that in our classes, we pay attention and have an enhanced level of instruction that our teachers are providing so that if you are not following along with the video and you're following the instruction just with the audio, that you feel confident in being able to do the different exercises or do the different yoga poses, um, and do them confidently without feeling confused or lost or like you're unsure of what's being asked of you.
yeah.
So that again is some of the feedback that we're getting, is that that's not typical. The amount of intention and detail that's gone into how those classes are taught, again, creates that emotional impact. And then, of course, as people are using it, they are sharing that it's impacting them physically. They're feeling really great about being able to have a really nice habit of exercise or meditation or whatever it is that they're looking to access. But it seems to be positively impacting them physically and mentally as well as emotionally.
Wonderful. And that's wonderful. I know from personal experience, I used to do weights. I was never into being a big weightlifter or anything. It was just for fitness and, keeping the muscle strength up and keeping the body strength up, because most people don't realize just the amount of balance issues people with severe vision impairment have.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
really is dependent on your core strength being very strong. So if you go to fall, you can correct that. And just even like I got frustrated because I had to do it with a personal trainer, and they didn't sometimes get, well, hang on here, you can put me on a treadmill, but I can't control the treadmill because it's
Yeah.
not voice
Yeah.
activated. Or a bike, same problem.
Yeah.
Or, or when you're doing yoga, if you're in a class, I actually can't see what that person's doing, even if I'm up the front. And
Yeah.
they will say cobra pose or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I actually might not. be in the correct pose. And that's why I stopped doing those things,
Yeah.
because it was frustrating and it was quite alienating, is probably a good word, I think. And
Mm,
it's the same with, I think, a lot of sport. The unless you're doing a particular sport that's particularly designed for the disability you've got, such as
yeah.
wheelchair basketball, or there's goalball for vision impaired, which is actually, or for vision, yeah, it's actually quite physical, that one. I won't touch that
Yeah.
one with a barge pole. Young ones can do that one. But there's a lot of sports that we can't do. There is tennis, blind tennis, but you've got to go to a tennis court.
Yeah.
And if the tennis court's not nearby and there aren't other people to play against, well, what do you do?
Yeah.
So it's such a big issue. What were the challenges when you were starting this off on the accessibility side? What were the challenges you really had to think about how to get around? And how did you find the answers?
We are still resolving challenges, right? We're still continuously listening to more feedback to understand where we can create the most impact. But this really started with an idea and then truly hundreds of conversations with people to get to understand what their experiences with fitness and yoga had been like. And a lot of the same stories came through, similar to what you've just shared about the alienation. There's a lot of, people that were feeling um, embarrassed to go to in-person recreation or sports opportunities. And so
Mm.
it started with a lot of conversations. And when we moved into the design and actual build phase, we were including people through that process so that we were able to course correct quicker than having just, known what the idea was, building it, and then taken feedback to have to do a whole lot more course correction. Um, we have had some incredible experts that are part of our team who have extensive experience in accessibility. So, knowing that they were part of the entire process, really from the idea stage, it really helped us to design a system to embed accessibility into all of our practices. So, we weren't going through and building a product and then thinking about, okay, what do we need to do to make it accessible? It was every sprint, every time that we were working on a very specific aspect of the build, accessibility was part of that conversation throughout. And so we've really poured into, the experience and again, understanding that we still want more people to share what it actually feels like so that we can improve that user experience even more. It's really just been about listening. It's been about making sure
Fantastic.
that we're including people throughout the entire process and continuing
Yeah.
to hold ourselves to a standard and truly a decision and a commitment to accessibility where we will never be done. We will
Yeah.
continuously be looking at, okay, to improve the experience in terms of the fitness aspect or the yoga aspect, we may add in, additional features. And every single time that we go to build or continue to iterate or evolve the product, it will really be about, how do we do that to make sure that it's accessible? We won't put something into place just for the sake of having something that might be fancy if it then becomes inaccessible.
Yeah. I love it. Got to ask, where did the name come from?
Mm,
Second Skin
yeah.
Society. Because I think I know, but I better confirm this.
I would probably refer to it as a manifestation. So the business actually originally started as a yoga studio. I had my own
Mhm.
brick and mortar yoga space. And when I was thinking about what I wanted people to experience when they were coming and practicing with us, it was very much this, I want them to have an inner transformation. For me, that's what yoga is about. And truly, that's what movement is about for me. Yes, there are physical results that we get to feel from that, but movement for me is such an internal practice. And so the idea of second skin was this, kind of the shedding of the skin like the snake does, where it
Yeah.
the old falls away and you start to really get to discover yourself over and over and over again. And so I call it a manifestation because when the business decided, okay, we're moving into developing a mobile app, we're going to really enhance all of the different aspects related to accessibility and inclusion through this app. I started thinking about that name, and we had at one point considered a rebrand, but I felt like it was even more impactful, that name, because it was more than just our own inner transformation personally, which I still want people to experience through movement. It's also about the ability to think outside of your own lived experience. And so, Second Skin for me is very much about thinking outside of my own body and considering other people and their bodies, and really understanding, learning from people by learning about people. And that is what this, kind of second skin experience is like now.
Well, I had that wrong because I've had a saying that I heard all of my life. It fits like a second skin. And to me, that's what this mobile phone app does. It is
Well, I
such a
love
good
that.
fit. It's such a good fit for people with disability. What
Mm.
is some advice you would give to a person that is looking to build a mobile phone app for people with disability? What advice do
Oh,
you give them?
talk to people with disabilities first and foremost and all the way through. That is the most
Yeah,
important thing. I think there are a lot of people that have good intentions. And truly, if I think back to the very first idea that I had versus what we ended up building, it's completely different in the
yeah,
best way, in the very
yeah.
best way. Um, there are a lot of people with great intentions, but ultimately, sometimes, especially as founders or creatives, we think that our ideas are brilliant ideas, and they may be brilliant ideas. But if you're really wanting to impact people, if you're really wanting to create, products and services that are really impactful for people, you need to talk to those people and understand about their experiences so that you can make it impactful. There's no brilliant idea out there that a founder can have on their own for people with disabilities without talking to people with disabilities, and as many people as you can, bring them into the process. Hire them to be part of your teams, hire them as consultants. If that's not an option for you, figure out a way. I did a lot of things where I did exchange. If I didn't have the funds to be able to hire all the people that I wanted to hire, but I could offer different things. For a period of time, I was doing coaching and mentoring, and I would offer that in exchange for feedback, in exchange for consulting services. Even now, there are some people who have said, I would love to have access to your app, and I'm on fixed income and I can't actually pay for it. We are working on some scholarship opportunities that we would love to offer in the future to really help mitigate that risk. But in the meantime, right now, we're doing an exchange of service with people. We're giving a membership for free, and they're supporting us truly in giving feedback. Some people are creating social media content for us. It's just a matter of, figuring out the way that you can include people throughout that process in whatever way that you can.
I don't think you can top that piece of advice, Leanne. I really don't. How can people contact you to find out more about your work, to find out more about the Second Skin Society, and even find the
Yeah.
app?
Yeah, so you can find out everything about, the app and kind of the business where it is right now on our website, which is secondskinsociety.com. Second is spelled with a K.
Yep,
But if you're looking to connect with me or our team, LinkedIn is a fantastic place to connect with
yep.
me. Instagram, Facebook is a great place to connect with myself or people on our team. Yeah, any of those platforms are great.
Leanne, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I love hearing about your journey and what you're doing. It really excites me to see people really being, considering that everyone as part of the community. So thank you. Now, if you'd like what we do on the Digital Access Show, please like, subscribe, review, share it. I love feedback. Don't care how ugly it is. I absolutely love it. And I do learn from all feedback, just as I learn from every show that I do. So I'm Narelle. This is the Digital Access Show, and we'll see you next time.